Nerdish, nerdy, nerd news.
Hi, and welcome to Nerdish, Nerdy, Nerd News. Come along and ride with us as we explore, discuss, and nerd-splain some of the most interesting topics of today.
Hey, I'm Tim. Hung around with nerds a lot growing up, hoping that it would rub off. I think it kind of did, because I'm kind of nerdish. And as always, my co-hosts.
Hey, thanks, Tim. I'm Christian. I've been playing and writing, creating games and Dungeons & Dragons since high school. My idea of a relaxing weekend is playing vids with my buds online. I also used to do complex math troubles with my dad for fun. I am very nerdy. And with us to help us understand the world a little better.
Hi, I'm Jess. I've been programming and using computers since the early 80s. I'm a voracious reader, consistently going through about 500,000 or more words a month. I've got some biochemistry in my background, and I've been using technology for as long as I can remember. I am the nerd. Christian.
Yeah, I'm playing. Leave me alone. I'm just playing my games. Like, come on, give me a break. Here?
I literally was just playing that the other night with my youngest son, and he couldn't believe how frustrating and difficult the game was,
and how good you were at it.
yeah.
That's from hours and hours of hours.
Well, and just think of how that, the music and things like that, how that brings back those memories, right? Like, that is what the game industry has brought to our lives that our parents didn't have. Yeah. You know, for them it might have been the I Love Lucy song, right? TV, movies, things like that, Gone with the Wind, those types of
I don't
audio.
know about you guys, but my parents are older than that. For me, it was the Shadow Nose radio play.
Yeah. But those things triggered memories for them. And for us...
Wow.
Yeah, when he was little, he can remember listening to it.
For us, that noise of Mario triggers childhood memories.
Oh, for sure.
And the video game industry has grown absolutely in its entirety to the point now where it is bigger than movies and TV combined.
Multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yes.
So
worldwide.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they are starting to recognize that, and that's where people are starting to get into video game awards. Like the Shakespeares of our time aren't writing novels. They're not writing screenplays. They are going and working for game companies and writing backstories and stories that can be 3D animated and interacted with.
Building whole worlds.
Yes. Instead of just building one linear screenplay, they can now build all the possibilities that they had imagined for that character. And so I'm going to read you something here and tell me whether or not you can guess where this is from. You have died from dysentery.
Oh.
Tim, anything?
No.
That's Oregon Trail. I don't know how many times I died from dysentery.
And how many times you saw that screen, right? Well, you know, those types of things invoke emotions. As you heard, Jess just about died himself. How about this one, Tim? You might get this one.
Finish him.
Mortal Kombat.
There you go.
There
See,
you go.
You did know one.
I surprised myself.
You know, and I mean, the one that I grew up on was, it's a Mario. It's a me, Mario. I'm gonna win. So
it's Mario, Luigi.
So the funny thing about that voice is that was Charles Martinet. He had made a career out of acting up until the mid-90s, and then he went into voice acting in around 92. He walked in, and I just watched an interview with him where he walked into the voice auditions for Mario, and they had him. They were all starting to walk out because he was a little late. And he's like, oh, well, just give me a second. And they're like, okay, fine. He's a plumber from Brooklyn, and he's, doing this. And he came out with this voice and said 3 or 4 things. And it was like really simple. And it sounded like it's so cool to hear his interview.
Whole career.
His whole career. So they interviewed him, and he said the voice, and it's like, oh my God, that's Mario. Well, he did Mario's voice from 1992 up and still continues to. He is voiced in over 150 different video games. He has done Mario, he does Luigi, he does Wario, he does Waluigi, and many of the Mario characters. But he's also been in Star Wars game. He's voiced characters. He's voiced characters in Skyrim, which is Elder Scroll Dungeons and Dragons type game.
That's got to be the greatest job ever.
Yeah. I went through his filmography.
I would love to do that.
I know. I went through basically his filmography, but his gameography, and he has made a massive career out of it. And he still continues. Every time they release a new game, he is the voice of Mario.
Well, there's talking about. I know it's kind of off topic a little bit. Even look at Mark Hamill, right? Because he's Joker in a lot of these.
Yeah,
a lot of people know him now more as the voice of Joker than as Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, and so with that, with actors and actresses becoming their
Peter Cullen,
this
Autobots transform, let's roll. That was always my favorite.
Well, now, with the award season just coming to an end, you've all watched the Oscars, you've all watched the Junos and the Teen Choice Awards and things like that, right?
They're my favorites.
Well, what are the things you like? Where would you like?
I could just see you there.
Where would you like to see the Bromantics? What award show would you be on?
That is a good question.
Grammys.
I don't think that there is one for us.
The grannies.
No,
the grannies.
Yeah.
But you've got your daytime Emmys, the CMTs, Music Awards, Golden Globes.
These are big. They're big.
Big.
Yeah.
Well, in the UK, they have BAFTA, which is the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, and they actually have an entire section of video game awards winners and nominees. Now, in 2022, they had a whole bunch of them. Many of them best games. So they've got a list of Deathloop, Forza Horizons 5. A lot of these are games you've never heard of. But in the categories, they've got Game of the Year. They've got narrative, so your narration for the voiceover actors. Best evolving game. Original properties, best British game, of course.
It's just like the Oscars. There's
just like the Oscars. Best multiplayer. Yeah, they've got categories: best family game,
music, art,
performer in a supporting role. So again,
that's like a supporting actor. Yeah,
just like supporting actors, and they are becoming as big, if not bigger, than the actual awards because these people are making full careers out of this. They are
getting recognized for fantastic artistic things that they've done.
Well, and I know my boys are pretty into the gaming and with Assassin's Creed even literally my boy, our oldest boy, that's why he got into history, and now he's an encyclopedia.
Yeah, that's an example of where storytelling has really engrossed them.
It's really phenomenal.
Well, and one of the ones back, Hades the game was the first legitimate literary award. They won the first Hugo Award as a video game because of the writing, and it was so good that they had to the Hugo Awards decided to recognize them as that, just like a literary piece of art. The Oscars, documentary short Colette was they won their first Oscar. It was a film that was featured in a game called Medal of Honor, Above and Beyond. So even the Oscars are recognizing this is not just sitting around your basement playing your Atari with a kid, that these things are...
Well, it employs so many professionals and so many great creative minds, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when are the Bromantics going to be recording the next video game, Tim?
We're going to be made a video game, I think.
I think you are.
It's kind of like
a
Mario Brothers
and everyone
platform.
will be fighting over control of Tim and his hips.
Yeah.
But even
oh, I want to make that now.
Please do.
Just to recognize some of the Canadian stuff, though, there is the 2022 Canadian Game Awards just at the end of April here. I think they finished, and they had the same sort of thing, just like the BAFTAs. They had best art direction. They had best game design. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, the movie.
Yeah.
Well, there was a video game built that was based on that, and they actually won best audio design. So, a lot of these things that have transitioned between video from audio or from a movie into the video game side, they're doing all of it. And it's it's really been a part of all of our lives. Like when
in one way or another, it's just become so huge.
When you were playing video games back and still are, is there a specific moment on a video game where you were so engrossed or excited or whatever you actually felt like emotional attachment there?
I remember almost kicking the TV with Mario Brothers. I do remember really getting into the storyline of Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Okay.
When it first came out with PlayStation, I just thought like, this is like gaming to the next level. The storyline was just so intriguing.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the first, not the first, but one of the first games to have cutscenes.
Yeah.
Where in between your loading levels, because I remember, I think on that one you had different discs. I think that one had multiple discs, and it would have to load different ones. And that's the thing, it got so big that they had huge files of videos and audio and storylines that you might never ever get to.
Well, it was the storylines too, like because it was like it was just as entertaining as more so even than watching a film.
For me, it was a game called Wing Commander. It was one of the first space flight simulator type games that came out. Right. Oh, that would be like...
Oh, you're dating yourself now,
like
Jess.
89, 90. Yeah, it was old. And there's this one time where you're in your carrier ship and you're waiting because you're a pilot, and all of a sudden the alarms go off, and it's like a cutscene, but it's a silhouette cutscene. And the music and the alarms and everything, the sound effects. And I just remember my buddy and I sitting there, and it was the first time it played, we both, our jaws dropped and we just were glued to the monitor because it was so fantastic. And to this day, even now when I go back and I watch that little cutscene, if you pull it up on YouTube or whatever, I still get this like ASMR shiver that runs up my back from it.
Let's be real though, guys. Was there anything like E.T. in Atari?
No, there really. But on that, we've got our shivers. We're gonna take a short little break here, and we'll come back and talk some more about our video game history and what we love about it.
Nerdish, nerdy, nerd news.
Oh, geez, I got so excited during the break, I just about fell out of my chair when it broke. And now I'm trying to kill Jess with laughter.
That's pretty good.
Jess said the look on my face was...
It's like a cartoon.
It's like a video game.
Like a video.
Yeah. So,
oh, boy.
I mean, we all have our memories, and that's the thing with our age group anyways. We have memories going back to pretty much our childhood of video games. I remember 7, 8 years old playing Pong on the original Pong and that sound of the ball bouncing across the screen was, it brings back memories.
The funny thing was the interaction, though. It was so exciting to trade games back and forth when you had the same console and stuff. But what I find intriguing now is just the fact that we can game with each other.
Yeah.
Right?
From across the world at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of the new games now, like I look at ones we've been playing recently. Wow. Ark, which is a big dinosaur game, my little 9-year-old. So it's one of these they're called survival sandbox. So the whole world, it's a giant map opened up to you, and you can...
It's trying to get you.
Yeah. Everything is trying to get you, but you start off naked in a loincloth.
Excellent.
And you build up from there to the point where you have...
So you pick up sticks, and you tie the sticks together and make an axe. And then you use the axe to cut down trees. Well, now you've got...
Sure, I've had a couple Friday nights like that.
And then... and then once you have trees cut down, you can now make houses. And it slowly builds from there. You build the technology that you can build, and then you can start taming dinosaurs and doing all these things.
And
riding them and then attacking other dinosaurs. And games like that, like Jess and I have played hundreds of hours. And
we have a buddy who is a dinosaur breeder extraordinaire. He has spent thousands of hours on a breeding program with his dinosaurs to have like the birds are called argentavis, which is this one giant eagle.
Basically looks like a giant eagle that you can ride on.
And he's bred some to be the attack
It's the American
falcons.
dream, Tim.
He's bred some to be like the carry the most weight. He's bred some to be like, each one is its own specialty, and he's done like all these breeding lines.
Well, and he even color coded them too. I think because you can breed colors.
colors.
And this is all just him sitting there with a bird A and bird B, breeding them together. They get an egg, and this is all part of the game.
Yeah.
And it's all like just one part. And one dinosaur.
He had his own little eugenics program going.
Yeah, he's like the little guy in Jurassic Park that, the little lab technician.
Yeah. So that's just one. Like that's Ark, and that's a few years old now.
Yeah. There's many. Like, I mean, you've all heard of World of Warcraft. MMO,
Never played it.
massive multiplayer
yeah.
online role playing game. So that's similar to the D&D that we played, but on a grander scale. So those guys who write the scripts for D&D that we were talking about, well, these guys have gone on and created scripts for the game.
Yeah.
And as you go from point A to point B, there's
different
quests,
biomes. You'll be in a jungle or in a desert or in a forest,
and you'll run into different creatures.
Yeah.
But again, back to to kind of the topic that these people are being recognized for these endeavors,
They
right?
are.
And their expertise.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, with the BAFTAs and stuff, you've got Forza Horizon 5, which is like a car game. It is one of the most stunning car games. Like, you actually...
Very realistic.
Very hyper-realistic. It's not cartoony. Like, they've taken... when it rains, you get the water spray from the tires. And you can... When you're sitting in your car...
You can't tell. If you just glanced at it and looked away, you wouldn't be able to tell that wasn't someone watching a race on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's on, like, not just this little... Like, if you have that on a 100-inch projection screen, it looks hyper-real.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
And so they're getting awarded for it, and they justly so. Like, it is an art form that is just amazing what they can do, and it's they don't get second edits and third edits to the light wasn't right there. It's all built into the game with Unreal Engine and all these different softwares that can manage where the light's coming from, where the sound is coming from.
And video games, the development for video games is actually affecting movies and TV shows now.
Mm-hmm.
The software that he just mentioned, Unreal, that engine, not LucasArts, Industrial Light and Magic, are utilizing that for making, what do they call it now? There's a name for it. Anyways, it's The Mandalorian. A lot of the stuff when they're filming The Mandalorian, like when he's riding on the beast or whatever, is on a soundstage with a big curved screen behind and special cameras.
And he's sitting on a box.
And this software is producing the background on those screens so realistically, and it's the right angles and everything. So that when a camera's looking at it, it gives you a perfect view of a desert area, and he's nowhere in a desert area. All the lights and everything are controlled by it. And
like think of the movies when you see someone sitting in a car and you see the background of, like, they're filming them from in front and there's two people in that car and you see the background and it just kind of keeps repeating because it's the same cars on the video screen. Well, they've now got that so real that they can actually program, he throws a cigarette butt out the window and it shows up in the video behind.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable, and there is kind of the crossover that's happening now where you go to movies and it's like, oh, this looks like a video game, or just wait a minute, like,
that's part of the metaverse, which we might get into later. It's interesting, but it's that's sort of the crossover between reality and the internet metaverse. This alternate reality stuff,
augmented reality. I mean, there's many games. Pokemon Go, which you can play on your phone. I play that with my kid. It's great. It's an augmented reality on my phone where I can actually hold my phone up and a Pokemon shows up in the real world through the phone lens. But my kid thinks, oh my God, the Pokemon is there. You just can't see it. Only your camera on your phone.
Special camera.
Yeah, it can see it in its alternate universe. And it interacts with the world around it. It stands on the ground, like. And this is,
I just wonder, because we laugh, like, I mean, we make the jokes about E.T. and Pong and like that's kind of where I started from, like, in television, Pitfall, this kind of thing. And 20, 30 years from now, even, wow.
I know they're going to look at us and go, you guys use screens?
You have to use your hands? That's like a baby's toy.
What do you need a mouse?
Yeah.
What's a mouse?
Yeah, where's your chip? Where's your eye? Your
phone.
Your eyeball phone. Yeah, so it's awesome, and I love where it's going, and I love the industry because, I mean, Jess and I, we spend hours playing together and interacting with each
If
other.
you want to hear some really fantastic music, if you're someone who really likes to hear just music and check it out, go on and find it's the orchestra with the orchestra or whatever. They play video game music.
The orchestral arrangements of video games.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Because we play music all the time from like Skyrim because it's beautiful music.
It is. It's fantastic.
Well, and you know what? Like if you as the Bromantics, you guys should look at something like that. Like do the Philharmonic in Regina does it all the time. They'll do a video game night
and
where they play video game
Skyrim
music.
Is a big one because it's so recognizable.
They'll play Mario. They'll throw and like all these different musics they'll throw in there, and people just love it. Like he's screaming, like people screaming. I mean, Tim's used to people screaming at him.
Yeah.
But you know,
the things I've seen.
but I mean, that's the emotion. The emotion, and we'll get into that, and hopefully that's another episode we do. Is the emotion of music and how it. I mean, we all, you know, when I said a quote to Jess, and he goes, diphtheria, you know, or dysentery. You've died of dysentery. Yep. You know, like those emotions that music invokes, and that certain storylines when you talk about a certain character, like you said with Metal Gear Solid and the main character there, you know, the emotion. Snake. Yeah. And
which is actually designed based on a movie character from Escape from New York.
That was one thing that as I was playing it, I still don't know how there's not a movie that was made.
It's based on the Escape from New York character, Snake Plissken.
Okay.
And Escape from LA, which is kind of goofy, but
yeah,
that's the character.
Way better.
Snake, yeah.
So out of these awards, like, so I'm a video game maker, video game company. You might have mentioned it earlier, but
right?
That's so great,
right? Like, doesn't that Metal Gear Solid noise just?
Oh, they saw me.
Yeah, they saw me, right? Like, so that's why I wanted to show.
Almost like
Tim just froze.
Did you feel the hair on the back?
Yeah. Well, because you could sneak around the corners, right? And it was so like I had never been able to do that before. Just go into stealth mode.
Yeah.
But that's where, like, when we talked about the video games earlier in our other episode about advancing technologies, when you had the old Nintendos, they had like 16-bit sound, so it was like
that
you heard
at the start.
Yeah, like you heard the Mario at the start. Well, now they've got that full orchestral ability to do exactly that. The exclamation, the scary music when you're going into a ghost town.
Just everything has got so much bigger.
The first game that really I played that gave me like a guttural fear feeling was called System Shock. And it was the first one that utilized subsonics. So it would play a very low bass sound in the background, and then it counterpointed that with like this. The writing was fantastic. To this day, you go up and look up System Shock game, and you will see people that are like, "This is the scariest game I've ever played," and it's 15 years old. It's like it's old. It's more than that because it was like, yeah, and it was one of those ones where you'd be like you said, you'd be like walking around, you go around a corner, and you know, you'd have to call an ambulance because your heart stopped and something jumped at you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some of those horror movies or horror, and I said it, horror movies, horror video games are.
So when these games come out, and we started out talking about the awards. What is the pinnacle? What is the award you get where you really have a lot of credit? Like what
the best game of the year that's recognized by like multiple.
Yeah.
places.
So I mean, just like your Oscars, you've got many times they'll win Oscars, but they'll also win film festival awards and things like that. I mean, if you win an Oscar for something, probably one of the best. If you win, depends on who you are. If you win,
what are the Oscars of the
Oscars? It literally is the Oscars.
Oscars.
Yeah, the Oscars, the BAFTAs.
But is that so? Does the Oscars have as much credit in the gaming?
Not quite
culture?
yet.
I don't believe so. No, because the Oscars,
in the gaming culture, when a game wins, like what are you really looking at?
Typically, it would be if you get like, say, the PC Gamer, which is like a magazine that's been around forever. It's been around for the like
90s,
30, 40 years type thing. If they say your game of the year,
Yeah.
that's the same thing.
That's
deal.
a big one, yeah.
Yeah.
Any of those long
Big
time
magazine,
running
yeah.
magazines.
And you'll have multiple ones that'll say, you know, like, this is the best game we've ever seen, or we've seen this year. It's like a gold version or whatever.
Player choice, like the same thing, player choice awards where the players pick the game. Those will be ones that they really like too, because they know that who they created it for have chosen, just like the People's Choice Awards.
Right.
It's really funny because a lot of the indie games you have, they're coming out now where it's like these little 4 or 5 man studios, and they release, and all of a sudden the game just explodes. One of the ones that was recently like that's Valheim.
Yeah.
It was put out by this little group. There's like 3 people that were in the group. They built this game, and it wasn't anything like it's not a AAA game, which means it's not like a big budget game. Big budget games can be like $100 million games to make.
Wow.
But it was like these guys in their own little studio. And by studio, I mean like their house. They built this game. They took a year or so to design it and build it and put it out. And it just exploded. And within like a week, they had 1 million sales.
And so, and this little game is, think of yourself as a Viking, Tim.
Oh, I do.
Survival with the longbow.
So just like we talked about with Ark and the dinosaurs, you get to be a Viking and all of the Viking mythology. So there's like big axes and war boats and
You have to go out and find resources and fight the
Hey, Mom, where's Dad? We haven't seen him for a week.
the graylings and
Tim's downstairs in his loincloth with a Viking shield and a helmet with horns.
Meat and
I need-
axes in the background.
Yeah, honey, bring me my beer.
more mead.
More meat.
But I mean, that's where these are going. Is a lot of these small industry, just like the Blair Witch Project was for video, for movies.
Right.
The same sort of thing is now starting to happen in the game industry, because all of this, the Unreal Engine that we were talking about,
Right.
well, it's software.
It's
you
just
can buy
available
And you can
people
do it right
and-
at home
and-
and make
Yeah.
a game right at home.
Yep.
Or
Yeah.
it's amazing.
And that's what we're looking forward to is what's going to come out of the next garage, really, and these artists where what
Let's
they're
get
going
on it. Let's get on it.
What-
Let's
what's our-
make that
what-
the
what-
new
I'm
goal.
gonna make an app.
What-
It's called the Bromantics, and it's gonna have Tim where you tap. The faster you tap it, the faster Tim does the hip thrusts.
Yeah, there you go. That's a great
It's like
game.
it's like Dance Dance Revolution mixed with Valheim. It's going to be Tim in a loincloth trying to do dances.
Who can throw the biggest object and hit him on stage?
Just wait until I.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
But just wait, Tim. When you get the call from me to come from the photo shoot.
But yeah, I mean,
All
the
these
video game
images.
awards are really kind of the industry.
a big deal.
They are
They're a
now,
big deal.
and that's why I say, like, for people who are, they got to be in the movies. Oh, I've got it. No, there are other avenues. Like, if you're as pretty as I am, you like to be behind a mic and not in front of a camera.
Right. But you can be.
Yes.
And make a very good career out of it.
Yeah.
So it's funny. That's a whole other avenue too. Is that how is this going to affect? You know when kids talk about what they want to do. Oh, I'm going to be a YouTuber. I'm going to be a video game designer. I'm going to be. Those are viable jobs.
Absolutely.
They're going to be the jobs of the future.
And that's the thing. Encourage your kids not just to play the video games. When they get interested in those things, if that's the path they're going down, look at other STEM things. There are tons of coding workshops. There's tons of
Here in Moose
There's
Jaw,
courses in high school now. Where they're-
just here in Moose Jaw at SciAst at Palliser campus. One of the gentlemen there, Mike
Saskapolly, Jess.
Saspoli. Sorry.
That's how old we are.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, you mean STI? No.
I can't remember his last name. Mike
Barkley.
He runs a program. It's like
In the summer.
it's like a program, a coding for games for kids to go and begin to learn how to code.
So
make
that would be a
games.
good start for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going. I know what I'm doing
Tim,
this summer.
hanging out with 9-year-olds.
Yeah, but and that's just one of their programs.
And I'll still be asking them, what's he talking about?
But I mean, that's the thing. Like when you see your kid reaching out, like my kid right now, he's really trying to get into the games, though we limit his screen time. He really enjoys playing games with his dad. And so my next step is going to be sending him to these programs to learn to code, to learn to do art on the computer.
To learn to write the story or design the world or whatever he's interested in.
That's awesome.
So don't discourage your kids when they're playing video games. Just point them in the right direction.
That's a good end note.
Yeah. So on that, we'd like to thank everyone for listening. And if you have any other questions or if you've got any video games that you loved, please send us an email or comment on Facebook or any of the socials as to which one memory or quote or piece of music that really brings back that memory that you have.
And we'll be working on creating the next big game.
The Bros.
The Bros.
Thanks again for letting us into your ear holes with this nerdish, nerdy nerd news podcast. Check out our website at wildshot.ca.
You can find us on all the socials under Nerdish, Nerdy, Nerd News. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also subscribe and support us at patreon.com/nerdish to get more bonus content, show notes, and merch.
If you'd like to send us topics for future episodes or comment about our existing ones, please email us info@wildshot.ca. And remember, stay nerdy.
Nerdish, nerdy, nerd news.